Hello, and welcome back to the Loco Files. In today's episode, we will be looking at the Great Western Railway 5600. The Great Western Railway 5600 is a class of 062 steam locomotive built between 1924 and 1928. They were designed by Charles Collett for the Great Western Railway and were introduced into traffic in 1924. After the 1923 Grouping Act, Swindon inherited a large collection of locomotives from the historic Welsh railway companies, which did not fit in to their standardisation programme. GWR boiler inspectors arrived en masse and condemned many of the original locomotives, most of which were still in serviceable condition, leading to the systematic destruction of many examples. Of the Taff Vale Railway, many engines continue to operate up to the 1950s, but today only 2 locomotives have survived. Number 28 and the last surviving Welsh-built engine, number 85. 200 5600 classes were built to replace these locomotives and remained in service until being withdrawn by British Railways between 1962 and 1965. 9 of the class have survived into preservation. The railways of South Wales seem to have a particular liking for the 062 wheel arrangement. This was down to the nature of the work that they undertook, demanding high adhesive weight and plenty of power with good braking abilities, but no real need for outright speed or large tanks or bunkers, as the distance from the pit to the port was often short. The 062 wheel configuration was discovered to confidently handle the sharp curves so prevalent in the area. These Welsh locomotives were taken over by the Great Western Railway at the grouping in 1923, and some were rebuilt to have taper boilers. A number of these passed into British Railways ownership in 1948, including Brecon and Merthyr Railway, BR numbers 431 to 436, Cardiff Railway, which had the BR number 155, the Rhymney Railway, who had BR numbers 35 through to 83, and the Taff Vale, which had BR numbers from 204 to 399. When the Great Western Railway took over the Welsh Valley lines, they discovered the Welsh locomotive crews liked their 062s, and so rather than a new design, the 5600 was essentially a Swindonised version of the Rhymney Railway M-Class and R-Class. The 1904 M-Class and a similar R-Class built 5 years later were very successful designs, ideally suited to hauling heavy coal trains a relatively short distance. The 5600s were specially designed for the work in South Wales, replacing the elderly and worn-out locomotives that had been inherited in 1923. When the smaller railway companies were forcefully merged into the Great Western at the grouping, contrary to this trend, the Rhymney Railway's more modern 062s were generally in good order and proved to be successful. Thus they became the blueprints for the 5600. The first 5 R-Class locomotives were reboilered by the Great Western in 1926, and a single M-Class was upgraded in 1930. In this form, both were visually almost identical from the 5600 class. The design for the Great Western Railway 5600s followed the Great Western practice as closely as possible by utilising many standard parts, including Collett's innovations was a standard number 2 boiler, which was suitable for the 5600s, the M and the R-Class locomotives from the Rhymney Railway, complete with the traditional Great Western's brass safety valve casing and copper cap chimney. These were substantially sized tank engines at 37 feet and 6 inches in length and weighing around 62 tons. The side tanks were capable of holding around 1900 gallons of water, The high-domed cab, bunker and tanks closely related to the 3100 and 4200 class. 100 of the 5600s were built between 1924 and 1927 at the Great Western Railway workshops in Swindon. In 1927, another 100 similar engines were built. These were slightly heavier and numbered in the 6600 series, going from number 6600 to 6649. And these were built in Swindon between 1927 and 1928. However, due to the pressure of the work, numbers 6650 to 6699 were built by Armstrong Whitworth in 1928, which resulted in some minor design differences between the Swindon engines and the Whitworth ones. Whilst they were powerful machines, the 5600s proved to be unpopular with the footplate crews at the time. They were beset by numerous failures, the most common of which was hot axle boxes. They lacked the wider tolerances in their boxes that the original Welsh engines had, and they also had a tendency to derail, so those driving them preferred to do so in reverse, where the pony truck was able to guide them round tight bends. When the Welsh railwaymen discovered the Great Western Railway 5700 pannier tank, introduced in 1929, they discovered it was even more suitable for the same work, being both shorter and lighter, with roughly the same tractive effort. As a result, no further 56/6600s were built. The 5600 had the distinction of being the only 062 locomotives built by the Great Western. Nevertheless, there were just over 400 of the type in service from 1940 to 1945, demonstrating the large number acquired in 1923. A fall in the South Wales coal trade during the 1930s saw many of the class being reallocated to other parts of the Great Western network. Due to the suitability of the design, many drivers would typically operate the 5600 class down the Welsh valleys in reverse. The placement of the trailing wheels helped the engines enter the curves better than if it operated in the other direction. Typically during operation when pulling a heavy load, the tanks would operate bunker first, then the smoke box first on the return trips up the valleys. All the 56/6600 class locomotives passed into British Railways ownership at the nationalisation in 1948, and all remained in service until 1962, at which time they were withdrawn from service quite rapidly, with the onset of diesel traction on British Railways gaining momentum. All had been withdrawn by 1965. After being withdrawn, several ended up in Wooden Brothers Scrapyard in Barry, South Wales, where 8 of the 9 preserved engines came from. As the locomotives mainly operated in South Wales, some enthusiasts knew the class by the nickname of taffy tanks, which taffy was being used as a derogatory term for someone of Welsh descent. However, the 5600 class never had this title officially, whereas the more typical examples of the Rinley Railway's M and R classes they replaced were arguably the original taffy tanks of fame. I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, leave it a like. Leave a comment in the comments section below, and if you really liked it, subscribe. And also, I would like to thank Thomas Dibden of Dark DJ Productions for editing this episode and agreeing to be my editor. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and goodbye.